Chris Graham from Trailblazer RV, here to take you through this 2020 Coachmen Northern Spirit XTR 2145 RBX. Starting right here at the front of the trailer, where you've got your propane and battery systems. To access your propane valves, you can open the cover on the top of the tank cover, or you can just lift up to remove the whole cover. You've got two 20-pound propane tanks. Both of these are full right now, and an automatic switchover propane regulator. And you can see the sight glass here on this regulator showing red. That shows that there is no propane flowing from the supply bottle. As I open that sight glass, or that valve, the sight glass turns green, showing that there's propane in the line. What we recommend is opening both bottles, and then the propane regulator will deplete the supply bottle first, and then automatically start to pull propane from the reserve bottle. When that happens, the sight glass will turn red, and you can flip the supply over to the second bottle, remove the first bottle to go and refill it without ever shutting down your propane system. Right behind the tanks is where you'll find your batteries. These are dual 6-volt RV batteries. And with dual 6-volt batteries, you've got a couple of leads coming to the batteries. You've got red to the positive on one battery and black to the negative on the other battery. The batteries are jumped positive to negative between, and these are AGM batteries. So they don't require any maintenance like a flooded wet cell battery would. Still recommend, even with an AGM battery, removing them over the winter for storage in the off season. AGM batteries won't freeze solid like a flooded wet cell battery, but they can still freeze, and it's not good for them if they go dead and freeze over the winter. Spare tire is mounted right underneath the A-frame of the trailer if you ever need to access it. Here in the front storage compartment, we've got a couple of things. Your stabilizer jack crank handle. So when you get to where you're camping, get the trailer relatively level, then crank the jacks down to be snug with the ground, but you don't want to actually lift the trailer with these jacks. They're not designed to support the entire weight of the trailer. You've got your 30 amp power cord stored in here. Many of the sites that you visit will have 30 amp power. For those that don't, we also supply the 15 amp park adapter. You can fill your freshwater holding tank from right here. This is just a gravity fill right into the tank. We recommend using one of those white non-toxic drinking water hoses rather than just a conventional garden hose for this. That way you don't get that plasticky garden hose taste in your water. And to drain that tank, your drain valve is right here. So open the valve to drain the freshwater holding tank. Here at your running gear, your tires are inflated to 65 psi. It's stamped right on the side of the tire, 65 psi cold, and we do recommend running them right at 65 psi. We also recommend periodically retorquing your wheel nuts. They're torqued now to 100 foot-pounds, and repacking your wheel bearings. This trailer has easy lube axles, so if you pop this center cap off, you can expose a grease zerk that you can use to grease your inner and outer wheel bearings with a grease gun. Now, greasing the bearings doesn't eliminate the need to repack wheel bearings, but it prolongs the intervals. So instead of recommending a wheel bearing repack every year, as long as you occasionally give it some fresh grease, you can probably get away with a wheel bearing repack every 3 to 5 years. Here at the back is where you'll dump your sewer holding tanks. So your sewer hose is stored inside the rear bumper. Sewer hose attaches right here, other end goes into the ground. Then you've got two valves, your larger black valve and your smaller gray valve. Always dump the black valve first, and when that's finished dumping, close this valve and open the gray valve to use your sink and shower water, your gray water, to kind of flush the sewer contents through the hose. You can also, while you're dumping your black holding tank, hook up a hose to this orange hose connection here. This is your black tank flush system. So it'll spray out the inside walls of the tank and spray off the monitor probes to keep that monitor panel reading accurately. Don't confuse this one with this one. This is your city water connection. So if you're staying at a site that has water hookups, you can hook your hose directly up to here and pressurize the water lines in the RV from the source rather than using your water pump. If you're going to hook up to your city water connection, we recommend using a water pressure regulator, just a little brass piece about that big that goes on the end of your hose to maintain proper operating water pressure in the RV. This is where that 30 amp power cord attaches. You've got a spray port here for a cold water sprayer and a little dog tie down D-ring clip there. On the back of the trailer is where you'll find your rear view camera. When you're traveling, in order to use the signal from the rear view camera, you'll need to have your headlights turned on. The camera uses power from the clearance light and tail light circuit, so turn your headlights on to power up the camera. Here at your outside kitchen, the fridge is electric only, so it won't run on propane like your main fridge. You'll need to be plugged into power or your generator for that to work. And your 2-burner stove top pulls out. These burners are propane. You can light them with a barbecue lighter. And you do have to connect this line. Nope, this one is permanently connected. There we go. So using the quick connect hose, you'll hook that up right underneath here. So push in, slide the sleeve forward, and the valve will have to open before any propane will flow. To put this away, remember that there is a bar in here holding the stove out. You need to push up on the bar and slide it in. We'll tighten up this screw before you pick this up tomorrow morning. Here at your hot water tank, it's a direct spark ignition propane hot water tank, so no pilot lights or anything to worry about. But there are a couple of things to cover. This is where you'll drain the tank from by pulling this white plastic plug. Before you pull that plug, be sure to bleed the pressure off of the tank using the pressure relief valve. And that's about all there is on this model. This is a glass-lined tank, so no anode rod required for this tank. Right above that is your fridge vent. You can open this up to access the back of the fridge, but pretty rare that you need to do that. It's primarily just a vent for some air to flow through the back of the fridge. Furnace vent right here. This gets very hot, so make sure if you've got young kids around the trailer, they know to steer clear of that. Solid step entry step folds up into the door frame like so. To release it, just pull the lever and fold it down. These legs are height adjustable with these pins if you're on very uneven ground. Your awning is controlled from just inside the door here at the control panel. So if I press the awning extend button, the awning comes out 8 feet. You don't have to bring it out the full 8 feet. You can stop it at any point if there's a tree or another RV in the way. And this is a height adjustable power awning. So once we've got it all the way extended, I'll show you how to adjust the height. At either arm, you can adjust the height, but we recommend only lowering one of the two. Just loosen off the tension knob here and pull down. Then you can tighten that back up, and you've lowered one corner of your awning. Now the rainwater will all run off this side rather than collecting in the awning. When you go to retract the awning, put both arms back up to the full height. That'll ensure that the canvas rolls up straight on the roller tube. Also just inside the entry door is the rest of your control panel. We can control the slide out from here. So if we press and hold out, the slide will extend. This is an LCI Schwintek style slide. So it drives from all 4 corners and it's auto adjusting. If the slide out ever comes a little out of adjustment, all you need to do is run it all the way out and all the way in again to adjust. We do recommend with this style of slide out using it either in the all the way out or all the way in position. We don't recommend stopping it halfway, as that could potentially cause the motors to come out of alignment. At the monitor panel, you can check the level of your battery. You can see it's completely charged now. Your fresh tank is completely empty. Black tank is completely empty. And gray 1 is completely empty. And there's a button for a gray 2. I don't believe this trailer has a second gray tank. So I think this button is superfluous in this model. You've got a couple of switches here for your hot water heater. If you're plugged into power, you can run the hot water heater on electricity. If you're not plugged into power or you want faster recovery time, you can run your hot water heater on gas. As we turn that switch on, I don't know if you could hear it in the video, but the DSI sparked and that burner lit in the hot water tank. This is also where you'll turn on your water pump if you're pumping using water from your freshwater holding tank, and your main living room lights and outside awning light. Here in the kitchen, you've got a 3-burner gas stovetop. So all 3 of these burners light via the piezo sparker. Always recommend, every time you change out a propane tank or take a tank to be refilled, anytime you've had the propane system disconnected, the first thing to do upon reconnecting your propane system is come in here and just light all 3 of these burners. Once you've lit the 3 burners, you know you've bled whatever air was in the lines off, and you'll have no problem lighting your automatic appliances, your fridge, furnace, and hot water tank. To light the pilot for the oven, press and hold the oven knob in the pilot setting, and you can use the same piezo sparker to ignite the pilot. You'll find the pilot right underneath here, and just by using the piezo sparker we can light that pilot. Once you've got a flame there, continue to hold the knob in for 10 or 15 seconds for the thermocouple to heat up, and then when you release that knob and the flame maintains, you can turn it up to temperature, and away you go. When you are finished using the oven, you can turn it down to pilot and leave the pilot burning, or you can just turn it all the way off and relight the oven next time you need to use it. And the switch next to that is for your blue backlit stove knobs. Your fridge is automatic gas electric fridge. Controls are right inside the freezer door, and really simple controls. On off switch, so you can turn it on. What we recommend is just always leaving it in auto mode. When it's in automatic mode, it will run on electricity anytime electricity is available, but if there is no electricity available, or you blow a breaker, or somebody unplugs the trailer, it'll sense that and automatically switch over to gas. You can override the automatic to only run on gas, and you might find that the fridge cools a little bit faster on gas than it does on electricity. But having said that, it still takes several hours to cool down an RV fridge. The panel beneath the fridge can be removed to access the bypass valves on the back of the hot water tank. There's valves on the cold water in and hot water out to isolate the hot water tank from the system, so that you can run antifreeze through the cold and hot side of the water system without filling the water tank. Here in the bathroom, a notable power outlet. It's your GFI outlet, so it has a test and reset button on it, just like the outlets in the bathroom of your home. Only difference in an RV is this is wired in series with several of your other power outlets. So if you trip the GFI, that whole circuit will go dead. If you're ever plugged into power and you can't figure out why you don't have power from your outlets, come in here, press reset, and it'll reset the whole system. Anytime you're using your RV's sewer system, you want to make sure and use a potent RV toilet chemical. It comes in liquid, tablet, or powder form. And when you go to add chemical to the tank, tear open a package of chemical, pour it into the bowl, use the foot flush, push halfway down to fill the bowl with water. Once it's full of water and chemical, dump the whole works down into the tank. It's important to note that that chemical takes some water to activate it, so you want to make sure every time you add chemical to the tank, you put some water down with it. And you'll want to do that, add chemical, immediately after every time you dump your black holding tank. Your furnace and air conditioning actually are controlled from the digital thermostat here on the wall. So we can turn it to cool mode to toggle the air conditioning on and off via the thermostat. Right now we're not plugged into power, so that air conditioner is not actually going to kick on. The furnace though will come on regardless of whether you're plugged into power or not. And you hear that fan come on. The fan's going to run for 10 or 15 seconds before the actual furnace burner lights up. We should hear that, just like so. So now if we give that a few seconds, we would have warm air blowing through our heat vents. Once the system comes up to temperature, or you shut the system down, the fan is going to continue to run for 30 seconds or up to a minute, but the furnace burner has gone out already. The fan will run for another minute or so just to go through its cycle. Your stereo system is AM, FM, CD, DVD, Bluetooth, USB, and auxiliary, and has speaker zone A and speaker zone B. Zone A is your inside speakers, zone B is your outside speakers. Make sure if you're listening to music inside the trailer that you've got zone B turned off, otherwise everyone else in the campground is listening to the same music that you are. Power converter is located down here in the corner. This is the electrical center for the RV. So you've got breakers for all of your 110 volt circuits and fuses protecting all of your 12 volt circuits. You've got 10, 15, 40, and one 5 amp fuse there. So we would recommend having with you just an assorted package of fuses. It's not uncommon in an RV to blow a fuse. If you have some spares, it won't be a big deal if you need to replace one in the campground. Here on the ceiling is your smoke detector. It's important to note that the smoke detector uses its own 9-volt battery. It's not wired into the RV's 12-volt electrical system, so you want to test this periodically just to make sure that that battery hasn't gone dead. And you also have a propane leak detector. This is a propane and carbon monoxide detector. So it'll do 3 things. It will alert you to a potential propane leak. If you had a propane leak, you would almost certainly smell the propane before the alarm goes off. It could alert you to a carbon monoxide situation, in which case you wouldn't smell anything. Or the third thing that it can do is alert you to a low voltage situation. This is wired into the RV's 12-volt power system, so if the RV batteries get very low, this will go off just to alert you to the low voltage. Here in the master bedroom, not a lot to talk about, but you have the max bed storage. So you've got access to some drawers underneath here. There's floor mounted motion sensor lighting, and laundry hamper and everything is stored underneath here. You've also got a emergency escape window here in the bedroom. With this style of emergency exit window, you can prop the window open for ventilation. If you need to use it as an escape window, it hinges all the way up. Just use the red tab to pull the screen out. And TV backer in the wall. You can install a second TV if you like. Be careful to hit the backing in the wall. That sticker is not always in exactly the right spot, and don't use any screws longer than 1 inch in that wall. The entire thickness of the wall is only about 1.5 inches. I think for the most part that covers it. Hopefully you've learned something about the Coachmen Northern Spirit XTR. You can always get a hold of us at Trailblazer RV if you have any questions, or you can check our website, trailblazerrv.com. Thanks for watching.